All right, let's talk about two terms that get thrown around all the time: API gateways and reverse proxies. They sound kind of the same, right? But trust me, they are not. By the end of this, you're going to know exactly what each one does, and more importantly, which one you might actually need for your own stuff.
Think about this for a sec. Netflix, Amazon, how on earth do they handle millions of people hitting their apps at the same time without the whole thing just collapsing? It feels impossible. Well, the secret sauce isn't magic. It's some seriously clever engineering. And the two tools we're talking about today, they're right at the heart of it all.
Okay, to really get this, we're going to use an analogy. Imagine a huge restaurant kitchen. You've got dozens of chefs back there, each one a specialist. One does steaks, another does pasta, another handles desserts. Now, what if there were no waiters? What if every single customer had to run up to the kitchen window and just shout their order directly at the chefs? You'd have pure chaos, right? Orders getting lost, chefs getting confused, a total disaster. Well, that's exactly what a modern software system can look like without a proper front door.
So that chaotic kitchen? That's our million request problem. It's the challenge of managing a flood of requests going to all these different back-end services. And the very first thing you'd do to fix that restaurant, right? You'd hire some help. You need someone to bring order to that chaos.
And that brings us to our first hero of the story, the reverse proxy. In our restaurant analogy, this is the waiter. Simple, right? The waiter is that single point of contact. They stand between the customers, that's us, the clients, and that crazy kitchen, which are all our back-end services. Their job is to take all the orders and make sure they get to the right chef.
Okay, so what's this waiter's job description? What does a reverse proxy actually do? Well, first up is load balancing. If you've got 3 chefs who can make a steak, the waiter's smart enough to give the order to the chef who's free. Makes sense. Then there's security. The customers never actually see inside the kitchen, do they? They just talk to the waiter. That keeps the messy, complex back-end totally hidden and safe. Next, performance. Imagine the soup of the day is super popular. The waiter can keep a few bowls ready to go, serving them up instantly. That's caching. And finally, reliability. What if one of the chefs suddenly has to take a break? The waiter knows and just redirects the orders to another chef. No big deal. So at its core, the reverse proxy is a traffic cop, keeping everything moving smoothly and efficiently.
So there you have it. That's our waiter, the reverse proxy. Super important for managing traffic and just keeping the lights on. But what happens when our little restaurant starts to get a bit more sophisticated?
Yeah, what if you start having VIPs with special reservations, or customers with complicated allergies? What if you need to stop one table from ordering 100 steaks and bringing the whole kitchen to a grinding halt? See, just being a traffic cop isn't going to cut it anymore. You need some real intelligence at the front door.
And that's where our second character makes their grand entrance, the API gateway. If the reverse proxy is our hardworking waiter, the API gateway is the brilliant, all-knowing maître d'. This isn't just a front door, it's an intelligent front door. It's not just managing traffic, it's orchestrating the entire experience.
Now, here's the key. The maître d' does everything the waiter does, and then a whole bunch more. They're in charge of authentication, checking the guest list, making sure you actually have a reservation. They handle rate limiting, gently telling that one rowdy table they can't have all the kitchen's attention. They also do request aggregation. Think about it. You order a drink from the bar and a steak from the kitchen. The maître d' is the one who coordinates all of that so it comes to you seamlessly. And they can even do request transformation, which is super cool. That's like taking your complex order, no gluten, no dairy, light on the salt, and translating it into a simple, perfect ticket for the chef. This is a whole other level. This is application-level intelligence.
So yeah, this maître d', our API gateway, is an absolute game changer, especially when you're dealing with the kind of complex systems we build today.
And this really gets to the core of why it's so powerful. When you have dozens, maybe even hundreds of little microservices running in the background, all those different chefs in our kitchen, the API gateway gives the outside world one simple, elegant front door. All that chaos behind the scenes, it's completely hidden. The maître d' handles it all.
Okay, let's see this in action. Say you open an app and it needs to show your dashboard. Your phone sends one simple request. Hey, get me the dashboard data. The API gateway, our maître d', catches that request. First, it checks who you are, authentication. Then it turns around and starts talking to all the different chefs. It asks the user service for your name, it asks the order service for your recent orders, and it pings the payment service for your billing status. It's juggling all these conversations in the background. Then, once it has all the pieces, it bundles them up into one neat package and sends that single, complete answer back to your phone.
Your app didn't have to do any of that hard work. It's kept simple and it feels fast.
All right, so we've met our two key players, the waiter and the maitre d'. Let's put them head to head and really nail down the difference.
Okay, if you walk away with just one thing from this whole explainer, let it be this. The core difference is all about focus. The reverse proxy, our waiter, is all about managing network traffic. Its job is to keep the backend servers from getting overwhelmed. Its job is to keep them alive. The API gateway, our maître d', is focused on application logic. It's about understanding the requests, securing them, and making complex things simple. Its job is to keep the whole system smart. So you've got alive versus smart. That's the key.
And let's just lay it all out one last time. You can see it here. The reverse proxy's focus is on that network traffic management. Its main job is to route requests, balance the load, and protect the servers. It's the hard-working waiter. On the other hand, the API gateway is all about application-level intelligence. Its job is to govern, transform, and orchestrate everything. It's the intelligent maître d'. And you know, what's really interesting is that an API gateway often isn't a completely separate thing. A lot of the time, it's actually built on top of a reverse proxy. It's like you take your reliable waiter and you give them the brain and authority of a maître d'. You get the best of both worlds.
So, when it all comes down to it, the real choice depends entirely on what your system actually needs.
Look, every single modern system out there needs a front door. That's a given. The real question you have to ask yourself is, what kind of front door does it need? Are you building a simple, straightforward cafe that just needs a reliable waiter to take orders and keep things moving? Or are you building a complex, fine dining restaurant that absolutely needs an intelligent maître d' to manage reservations, coordinate the entire staff, and deliver a perfect experience? That's the decision. And now you know exactly what that choice means. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today.